Since Update 6.2 launched, new metas have started to form with weapon picks and options in Battlefield 5. One of the most prominent, at least in my experience, is the re-emergence of semi-automatic rifles. Basically, they've been brought back from the grave, and they've been given a really dominant role in this new gunplay landscape. Now, as an assault player mainly, I do like to use automatic weapons, and currently I do have a bit of a soft spot for the ribeye rolls, but trying out some of the semi-auto rifles over the last couple of days, it has become clear to me that they should pretty much be your go-to picks in the assault class right now. So, these semi-automatic rifles then. There's some really big hitters back in the mix, some faster firing options which will help you compete up close with automatic weapons, and then we've got some in-betweeners, and sometimes it's these jack-of-all-trades weapons that sit best with most people out there because they're more malleable to lots of different types of combat. But we're going to start with the heavy hitters because who doesn't love taking down enemies in just 3 shots at long range? Firstly, the M1 Garand with heavy load. The Garand is a weapon that has 2 different personalities in Battlefield 5, and I definitely like the weapon more when you equip it with the specialization that bumps up the amount of damage that it can do. With this active, the Garand steps up into more of a counter-sniper role, I think, dealing much more damage over range and giving you the chance to land 3-shot kills all the way out to the 100-meter mark. After 100 meters, it does drop down to 4 shots, but if you throw a headshot in there at any point in time, there's always the opportunity to take down enemies in less shots, and if you're within the 3-shot kill range, then a headshot will bring it down to just 2 shots, thanks to the increased headshot damage multiplier. So this thing is really, really powerful. It makes the Garand an extremely formidable weapon, and strapping on a 3x optic, you essentially become an assault sniper. You're capable of combating enemies at extreme long-range distances. You do sacrifice some rate of fire when you choose the heavy load option, but I'd argue most of the time if you are equipping heavy load, it's because you want more range damage potential, so the likelihood of you firing your weapon faster really isn't that great. I do also want to give a shout out to the other big heavy hitters here, the Gewehr 43, the Selfslader 1916, and the Karabin 1938M. These all fall into the same category as the heavy load Garand, but for me, they just don't feel as great. They're far less iconic and recognizable weapons, and they just don't give me the same oomph that I get with the Garand. But that said, they do feature more rounds per magazine, so they might be better options for you if you find yourself missing shots at range. You won't be reloading as often with any of these 3 weapons compared to the Garand. Up next, let's talk about the faster firing options here, the M1 Carbine and the Gewehr 1.5. Both of these weapons sit squarely in the close range effectiveness position, with some proper mid-range combat power in there as well. The Gewehr 1.5 is your prime option if you're only planning to operate in close quarters, and then the M1A1 Carbine is what I'd consider the more consistent performer. The Gewehr 1.5, it features a 3 to 6 bullet to kill model, giving players out to 30 meters a better chance of killing players and competing extremely well with automatic weapons because you can take people down in just 3 bullets to the body. Medics with their SMGs, other assault players with automatic rifles, and potentially other support players, that's the area where they'd expect to be dominating, but the Gewehr 1.5, it allows you to stand a proper chance at winning those gunfights. And you also get plenty of ammo per magazine. There's 30 plus 1 in the chamber, so reloading between kills or between different gunfights, that shouldn't be something that you have to worry about so much with this semi-automatic rifle. And then the M1 Carbine, on the other hand, that provides you with a flatter damage model overall, starting at 4 bullets to kill, that extends out to 50 meters, meaning anything inside that range is always a 4-shot kill to the body, and even lower if you can land a headshot. At the 30-meter mark, the time that it takes you to kill an enemy with the M1 Carbine becomes less than the Gewehr 1.5. That highlights where the Gewehr 1.5 is most effective, and then where the M1 takes over as the better choice. So, inside 30 meters, mostly, go with the Gewehr 1.5. Outside of that, go with the M1A1 Carbine. And then we've got the weapons in between, the in-betweeners, the jack of all trades. We've got the AGM-42, the MAS-44, which is my favourite of all of the semi-autos right now. That's the gameplay that you're watching in the background, and the Turner SMLE. So starting with the AG, this actually shares the fastest rate of fire in the semi-automatic weapon class with the M1A1 carbine, which we were just talking about, and it performs quite similarly out to 50 meters. But it's actually beyond that where the weapon ends up shining the most. Bullet velocity stands at 780 meters per second, so that makes it great for longer range engagements, not having to lead as much. But with a 4 to 5 bullet to kill setup, it also provides a really consistent damage across all ranges, making it a really good all-rounder. Then the Turner SMLE, which is actually one of the few remaining weapons in Battlefield 5 that I've really not used that much, and the MAS-44, they both come in with a 3 to 5 bullet to kill setup, which gives them more power at close range, out to 25 meters. That's a shorter value than lots of other weapons that do their max damage, at least in the semi-auto category, but it still allows them to compete with automatic weapons more closely. But for me, the MAS-44 comes out on top. It's got an absolutely brilliant 820 meters per second bullet velocity. So that makes sure that the longer range targets that you're shooting at really don't require that much lead time, and those close range shots should be hitting almost instantly as well. I've been having a lot of fun with the MAS-44 in Conquest Grind over the last few days. This round that you're watching here on Operation Underground, it had some really nice close to mid-range streaks. I'm pulling off the 3, 4 and 5 bullet kills all mixed in together with some nice headshots. Of all the semi-autos, this is the one that made me feel the best when I was using it at the moment, besides the Garand heavy load, but that's mainly reserved for rounds of breakthrough where I'm wanting that extended 3-shot kill range to just devastate targets. But as an all-rounder, as an everyday use, I'm going to go with the MAS-44 at the moment. It sits in the middle of the road, it's good at everything, and that means regardless of the engagement range or the scenario that I find myself in, I can use this weapon pretty nicely. Now, of course, the debate still stands whether these semi-automatic weapons should be as powerful as they actually are, because they are quite close to where they used to be before DICE messed around with all this weapon balance. They're still very similar to how they performed with Update 5.0 back in 2019. Considering they've got no spread to them at all, it makes them very accurate if you can control the recoil, and now they have more power than they did before. Personally, I'm quite happy that they're back being so devastating. As I've just said, you still have to keep recoil under control at longer ranges if you want to land shots, and as a weapon class they are quite punishing if you're not landing shots consistently. Automatic weapons, they have a much higher chance of taking people down quickly because each round is followed so quickly by another one, much faster than you can tap the button on your semi-automatic rifle. If you miss a shot, there's an opportunity there for an enemy to hit you with a lot of damage before you can land another shot back on them. So for me, right now, I'm liking that the semi-automatic rifles have their power back. It remains to be seen, however, if I continue to like them for longer into the life of Battlefield 5 and as more and more people start using them again. Today's video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Most of you already know that VPNs help keep your browsing secure on public connections, and they can help you get around censorship blockers in certain regions. But Surfshark does more than that for you. You can secure your connection via single locations, but you can also use multi-hop, encrypting your data through 2 different servers at the same time, and that shields your online presence even further. Built directly into Surfshark's VPN is the ability to block adverts, which will help websites load faster and reduce the amount of data that you use. And it gives you access to Blind Search, a search tool that features no logging, no tracking, and again, no adverts for purely organic results. So please check the link at the top of the description, click on that, and then use code Westie to get an 83% discount. I know, pretty mental, and you get an extra month free on top of that. Thanks very much to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. So, there you have it. All the info you need to make a decision about which semi-automatic rifle you want to use now in Battlefield 5 after update 6.2. Some people don't like that these weapons are now so devastating, but if, like me, you want to compete and beat other players in your gunfights, then you should just probably start using semi-automatic rifles. Thanks very much for watching. Leave me a rating and a comment. It is much appreciated. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.